It's a new article today in the Daily Mail with the headline Hunter Biden was hired by a Romanian real estate tycoon to overturn his bribery conviction through a massive propaganda campaign with the help of Vice President Joe Biden's government connections and former FBI Director Louis Freeh. Notably, this is the same Louis Freeh that we covered on this channel just a few days ago, following reports that the FBI ex-chief gave $100,000 to a trust for Joe Biden's family while he was asking the Bidens to help him explore lucrative future work options. New article today at the Daily Mail opens saying Hunter Biden and a former FBI director were hired by a Romanian tycoon later convicted of bribery and represented him in meetings with top U.S. officials. Emails from Hunter's laptop show Romanian real estate tycoon Gabriel Popoviciu was convicted in his home country in 2016 of bribing a university official to buy a 550-acre plot of government-owned land for a drastically reduced price. Popoviciu hired Hunter earlier that year as part of an influence campaign to persuade anti-corruption prosecutors to cut a deal or drop the case. The hiring was revealed in 2019, but DailyMail.com can now reveal the extensive propaganda and persuasion campaign planned by Hunter for the Romanian criminal, all while Hunter's father, Joe Biden, was vice president. Emails on Hunter's abandoned laptop reveal how Joe Biden's son and his colleagues leveraged their U.S. government connections and plotted a propaganda campaign for the grafting Romanian tycoon. Here you can see an email from 2016 between Hunter Biden and ex-FBI Director Louis Freeh. As a side note, this is also around the same time that the former FBI director met with Joe Biden discussing lucrative future work options, just as he donated $100,000 to Joe Biden's family. Again, the latest news about Hunter Biden's efforts to cover for this Romanian criminal totally contradicts Joe Biden's claims behind why he pushed for the firing of Ukrainian prosecutor Viktor Shokin during that same year, who was reportedly investigating Burisma while Biden's son Hunter sat on its board. I'm sure many who have been following this will remember how Biden openly bragged about the firing, but tried claiming that it had nothing to do with his son's business dealings and that he was told to do so by Obama administration officials and so-called anti-corruption advocates. Back to the latest info, today's article at the Daily Mail continues saying under the Foreign Agents Registration Act, anyone advocating for foreign entities to U.S. government officials or acting as a publicist for a foreign entity in the U.S. must add themselves to a Department of Justice public register. However, an exception applies for attorneys representing a client in a foreign court case who are not required to register. Emails show Hunter Biden's colleagues, partners in law firm Boies Schiller Flexner, Christopher Boies and Michael Gottlieb, seeking to set up meetings with the U.S. ambassador to Romania after discussing among themselves whether he would intervene in Popoviciu's case. Hunter Biden brought in political heavyweight and family friend Louis Freeh, the former director of the FBI, to use his U.S. law enforcement contacts for Popoviciu's advantage and was offered a referral fee as a result. Hunter and his colleagues also discussed a media campaign, including to major U.S. publication The Wall Street Journal, to support their client who was later found guilty of bribery. But as they point out here, none of them were required to register for this work under the Foreign Agents Registration Act due to various exemptions, including those for lawyers of foreign defendants. Popoviciu was first mentioned in Hunter's emails in September of 2015. At the time, Hunter worked at law firm Boies Schiller Flexner. Firm partner Chris Boies wrote to Hunter and his business partner Devin Archer with the subject line Popoviciu and the message, "Let's discuss when convenient. One of my partners is best friends with the newly appointed ambassador to Romania." The property tycoon didn't appear again in Hunter's inbox until May of 2016, when he was on the brink of a bribery conviction in a Romanian court. Hunter and his colleagues scrambled into action, with the then Boies Schiller attorney, Michael Gottlieb, even seeking the help of then U.S. ambassador to Romania, Hans Klemm, in a last-ditch effort to stop the corruption conviction. Quote, I have reached out to Clem and asked him to help us broker the meeting with Romanian anti-corruption prosecutors, Gottlieb wrote to Hunter on May 17, 2016. He went on to say, quote, we should put together a persuasive deck with all the procedural and substantive defects in the indictment/case against Gabs, and should also probably put together the start of what would be a press strategy, and will want to line up the big names to bring over. This article adds that a legal source involved in the discussions told DailyMail.com that they never went through with the planned action. Another quote here says, all of the ideas discussed in this email, including the preparation of a deck and press plan, were never implemented or executed, the source, who was a member of Popovich's legal team, said. He also said, quote, all of this was being discussed as part of a potential strategy, which depended entirely on scheduling a meeting with the Romanian government on the case, but that meeting was never scheduled and never happened because the Romanian government declined. So it sounds like Biden wanted to go through with this, but he was stopped by the Romanian government. The lawyer also complained to his colleagues about a Politico article praising Romanian prosecutors for cracking down on corruption. Quote, this kind of article is likely to make our efforts with the US EMB, the US Embassy, an uphill battle, and why I expect HK, Clem, has had little interest in taking any kind of public position, Gottlieb wrote. Hunter Biden weighed in, suggesting they enlist the help of Biden family friend and former FBI director Louis Freeh. Quote, agreed, Michael. Is now the time to begin to assemble a more high-profile team that can speak to the injustice here? Hunter wrote. Who do we have at the firm that can speak with authority about anti-corruption? Mike, I was going to reach out to Judge Freeh, and if you can think of others of that stature, I think now is the time to read them into the situation and see if they are willing to help. Ambassador Gittenstein mentioned names like former U.S. Attorney Patrick Fitzgerald. The following week, Gottlieb wrote an email to Hunter Biden saying that he had spoken to the U.S. ambassador, but was reluctant to describe his conversation in an email. Hans told me to discuss a development that is best relayed over the phone. Can we connect either tonight or first thing tomorrow? Bottom line is that we should proceed with requesting the meeting, he wrote. In a March 24, 2016 email titled Meet with H. Clem, Hunter wrote to Gottlieb, where are we meeting? A source involved in the meeting told DailyMail.com that Hunter did join Gottlieb and the U.S. ambassador in at least one meeting. The source on Popovich's legal team told DailyMail.com that at no point did we ever ask the U.S. ambassador or anyone else at the embassy to make any statement about the case or to intervene in any way. The lawyer said the U.S. team explained to Popovich's foreign representatives the reality that the U.S. embassy and the U.S. ambassador would not intervene with the Romanian government regarding a pending anti-corruption prosecution. Quote here from the lawyer says, the legal team was always attentive to limiting any asks to the U.S. embassy to be the making of an introduction to the relevant Romanian government officials or the provision of advice about Romanian law or protocol. It's claiming that that's all they were asking for. Boyes Schiller Flexner declined to comment. Gottlieb, who has since left the firm, also declined to comment. The overtures to American diplomats ultimately failed to prevent Popovich's conviction, but on June 18th, Hunter Biden emailed Freeh for help, saying he had become, quote, very close to the client personally, and claiming the tycoon was being very badly treated by a suspect Romanian justice system. Days later, the ex-FBI director had signed a retainer with Popovichu and described in an email a plan to intervene with their special Romanian anti-corruption prosecutor and even launch a propaganda campaign in the US. They were talking about us doing a report and then going to the Wall Street Journal. I said, this would most likely just inflame the prosecutor and make things worse for the client, Freeh wrote. Free did not respond to requests for comment, and it is unclear whether anyone on his team spoke to the Wall Street Journal about the case. Point out here that no favorable articles about Popoviciu appeared in the paper during that time, but the former FBI director did quickly bring his extensive law enforcement contacts to bear to help the tycoon. Flaunting his international connections, he wrote to Hunter Biden on June 21st, quote, "I will see my good friend Ron Noble, the former Secretary General of International Police Organization Interpol, in New York on Thursday, and most likely he knows this DNA, Romanian Anti-Corruption Office Chief Prosecutor, very well. Let me talk to him and see what the possibilities may be to meet with her and to initiate a dialogue which would remediate the situation. I want to make sure I can add some value to this equation before proceeding." Free then began to approach U.S. government officials about the case. He emailed Hunter on July 8th that he had spoken with the head of the FBI's criminal division about the case and offered to pay Hunter a referral fee for involving him. A quote in this email from Free to Hunter Biden says, "I would also like to make a small payment to you for this referral and for your continuing work on this matter. This is a standard practice. It's clearly your call, as I don't know your relationship with the client. We would just need your bank information in order to make a remittance." And finally, they remind us how despite the extensive planned influence and media campaign, Hunter and his colleagues' attempts failed. On June 23, 2016, Popoviciu was sentenced to 9 years in prison, but when police showed up to his Romanian home, they reportedly found the real estate mogul had fled. He was later arrested in London on August 2017. Please leave a comment and tell me what you think about this latest update. If you could give this video a thumbs up, that's greatly appreciated, and make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. Once again, thank you so much, everyone who has supported this channel with your donations at Patreon or PayPal, with your super chats as well. It's very much appreciated. This makes a huge difference in helping me continue to talk about these important issues. You can find either link down in the video description where you can support this channel directly, patreon.com/realityreader or paypal.me/realityreader. I will follow up soon. Thanks again.